Welcome. My name is Bob Stewart. We're going to jump through today. We're going to go pretty fast today. We're going to talk about 6 tools every top listing agent is currently deploying. Like if there's an agent in your market that's, you know their name, you see their signs out around town, there's a darn good chance, Mario, that they have these tools we're going to talk about today in their bag somewhere. Um, Now, should be no shock. You guys can see over my shoulder here. We offer all of these inside of the Brivity platform. We're not the only place you guys can get these tools. We may be one of the only places you can kind of get them all in one package. The Brivity platform is pretty expansive. Let's dive in here and let's focus on 6 tools every top listing agent deploys. I might even have more than 6, you guys. First one, if I want to be a top listing agent, I got to have at the very least just a steady trickle of prospects that might want to list their house with me. And so every top listing, or listen, if you went to their website, I promise you they're going to have some kind of seller lead capture mechanism. Okay. The one that is really the gold standard, and shout out to Zillow, love them or hate them. They gave consumers the understanding that they should expect to be able to go out and see what their house is worth on the internet. Now, every single one of us here on this call today knows that the actual value they get, Andrea, when they go to Zillow, not that awesome, right? And so we take on Brivity this tool that our agents and teams have access to. We use a couple of different valuation models, right? We incorporate the Zillow valuation or Zestimate. We use one that banks and lending institutions use. It's called Atom Data, ATTOM. We use a automated valuation model from Atom, and then we use another one from a company called Home Junction. And then we also take some recent sales from your MLS, because at Brivity, we help you guys manage your website, and we've got those MLS IDX feeds so we can see recent sales depending on what MLS you're in. And so those factor in a little bit, and we crunch all those numbers together. And when a consumer comes to your website and says, "Hey, Delia, how much is my home worth?" We're gonna give them this valuation right on the fly. Now, how are listing agents getting people to come here? Could be I'm running some Facebook ads. Could be I've got the Brivity team goes out and I give them a little budget to work with, and they go just target people in the market that are doing things like Googling how much is my house worth, or Seattle home sales, or things of that nature. You guys, if you got any kind of name recognition or brand recognition in your marketplace, or you've got a database of existing leads and you don't today know where they live, a lot of people are sitting on a lot of old buyer leads. Offering them a valuation on the home they may live in already, really strong way to get them to give us their address. So you absolutely have to have this kind of functionality inside your website. And David, if you're a Brivity customer, you've got this built in. By the way, we can create multiple variations of this type of a page as a Brivity customer. So Dylan, let's say, Dylan, I don't know where you're at. I'm in Seattle. And so here in Seattle, I would have a generic home valuation page that, by the way, probably would not have that house in the background. Although, I don't know, maybe that could be a house you'd find here in Seattle. But I want it to look like something that they would recognize if they were somebody that lived in my area. But if I was doing one of these and I was running ads targeting homeowners in Seattle, I would absolutely say, how much is your Seattle home really worth? I want that person landing there to feel comfortable. Like I know what's going on. I'm not some generic person that doesn't know their area. But I would want the people that I was marketing to in Bellevue or Redmond or Kirkland, some of the neighboring towns, to see their city name and to see a photo and an image that resonates with them. So my Bellevue one would say, how much is your Bellevue home really worth? And it would have a picture of Maidenbower Bay, because everybody knows kind of that iconic downtown shot of Maidenbower Bay in Bellevue, right? Kirkland would probably have the Kirkland waterfront and how much is your Kirkland home really worth? But some of our top agents here at Brivity that really are good at marketing to different communities that they serve are going to have a multitude of this style of page on their website. And then one generic one should somebody, just maybe they know their name and they go looking for them and pull it up. And it doesn't really matter if they're in Bellevue or Redmond or Kirkland if they know us already. But if they don't, we want to make sure they're landing somewhere that relates to who they are and where they're coming from. Enhanced seller lead capture, the home valuation concept. Again, many of the platforms out there will have this, and Brivity is no exception. All right, the next piece then, once we have people that are signing up and saying, hey, what is my home worth? And we're giving them a number, there's a couple things that are gonna happen there, Antonio. They're gonna think that's pretty close, which is rare, by the way. They're going to think that the number you gave them is too high. That's exceptionally rare, Allison. Okay. Very few people go, oh my gosh, I thought it was worth 600, but Allison said it's worth 700. Allison, I think you're wrong. They'll just want to believe that it's worth 700. It might not be, by the way. It's most common that they're going to reach out, Kristen, and say, this feels low. No matter what they reach out with, at some point we might have to do a CMA, a competitive market analysis for their house to figure out what is it actually worth. If these computer algorithms were good enough, right, they need us less. We all know they're not. In fact, we all know, and I hope you guys know, John Edward, in your particular market, what that miss factor is, or that error factor on Zillow, but they publish those numbers, right? If I was sitting here in Seattle, Washington, I should absolutely know that on average, Zillow's off about 18% here in Seattle, right? So if we want to be on, I've got to be able to price properties appropriately. And so Brivity and every listing agent has this tool in their belt somewhere, right? Some of you guys maybe have this through your MLS, or some of you guys are buying some software off the rack. Brivity has it built in, which is our CMA functionality. So we're hooked up to your MLS. It works on the 555 model of pricing homes, where you guys go in, you identify the subject property, and then you can filter in the comparables that you'd like to look at, right? You can sort them based on, price and bedrooms and bathrooms and all these things. But then we'll pull in the comps that meet your filtering criteria, and then you're going to select the 5 most relevant actives, the 5 most relevant pendings, and the 5 most relevant solds and you can go back depending on, kind of what area in that price. You can go back 3 months or 6 months or however far you need to go. But once you've identified those 5 actives, 5 pendings, and 5 solds, our software is going to go crunch the numbers and give you kind of an estimated price that we think that thing would price at. By the way, this CMA tool allows for you to set out range pricing. I know for a lot of our place teams, Ben Kinney and Chris Suarez, our co-founders, they would often do range pricing when they would sit down with a seller. And so our CMA tool allows for you to either pinpoint a number and go in and say, hey, I think, this is the number that I think we should list at, or to give them a little bit of a range. And range pricing helps them feel like they have some input on what side of the range we decide to price on. Do we want to price on the aggressive side, right? Or do we want to price on the let's wait for that perfect buyer side? Every great listing agent, by the way, one of the smartest things I've heard, if you're on a team or if you run a team, my suggestion to you would be get really good at pricing. And I think that's, it's a core skill of a top listing agent, is to get really good at pricing. But how do you do that if you don't do it often? And so on a bunch of our teams here that use Brivity, that partner with us at Place, one of the things that you'll see is, especially with newer agents, is them committed to doing 1 CMA a day for somebody. I'll give you an idea here in a minute about the people you could be doing these for, but it would definitely be anybody in my database who's giving me feedback that maybe the valuation they saw was not correct. And I'll talk about how we can consistently be presenting that home value to them here in just a second. What if you did a CMA every day? Think about that. Even if you're a person that lists, let's say you list 20 properties a year, and maybe you help 10 buyers. So there's 30 times you're probably doing a CMA, and maybe there's another 30 times this year that you're going to do one that's not going to turn into business. Contrast those 60 times with what if you decided each day, I'm just going to do one CMA every day. This is a skill I know I need to sharpen. I got to be really good at this. I mean, you might end up doing it 240 times this year versus the 60 you would do it if you simply, kind of did it inside the confines of your day-to-day. I would put a couple of the people that I know that have committed to doing this over the last couple of years. There's a few people I know that have been doing a CMA a day for multiple years now. I would put them in a competition against anybody in the industry to go set a price on a home. They're very, very good at it after having done it every single day, for 3 years now. They can do that because this tool allows them to do it pretty quickly. All right, this is of everything we've ever built. Jason, I've been building real estate software. I've been involved in companies that have been building real estate software for 26 years now. 25, sorry, 2000. This is my favorite thing we've ever built or anybody's ever built. And I don't even act like we built this or we're the first ones to have this, but market reports and Fellow has these and these exist out there. HomeBot was one, they did it really well in the beginning of this. On Brivity, you have this market report functionality, and it's also tied into your website. But essentially what this allows us to do is set someone up, and all we need is their email address, with a report that shows them what's happening in the market around, some defined area. Now, there's two types of individuals that we'll do this for. And by the way, this covers everybody in your database, but there's one type of individual where we know where they live. Jason Witten, he was like the tight end for but yours, it's spelled different. I noticed that, but that's awesome. Go Cowboys. I'm not a Cowboys fan, by the way, but Jason Witten, if I have their address, we're going to set up a home valuation style market report. And every 2 weeks or once a month, we send ours every 2 weeks just because we want to get those 26 touches this year on the database, right? Every 2 weeks, they're going to get one of these market reports from us. My mother is a real estate agent, by the way. Farida, she calls these her come list me emails because, she's got a database of about 7,000 people, about 1,800 of them they have an address on because they've very actively deployed their home valuation pages, via advertising and email and different methods. Those 1,800 people she has an address for, every single one of them is getting a home valuation report 2 times or every other week showing them what their house is worth. By the way, that is one of the best ways to get interaction from people because what they'll do is they'll start telling you what they think of that valuation. And we've got all sorts of calls to action on there that allow them to tell you what they think about it, right? They think it's too high. Do they think it's too low? Do they want to pull some equity out? Like there's all these things they can play with on there that give us a signal that says, hey, we should reach out and see what they're up to. But some of the most important ones are when they tell us what they think of the price. And our market report functionality, when you have a home valuation turned on, allows you to manipulate what that price is that they see month over month or week over week. So let's just say you had somebody in the first market report you sent out to them, it said their home valuation their house was worth $400,000. And we all know these things are not right? Because it can't account for the remodel they just did and the 1,500 square feet that they added on, right? But let's say I went in and they reached out or they hit that market report and they pushed the little button that said, this is too low. This is not right. We can go in and adjust that. Let's say after we used the CMA tool and we went and priced it out, we said, you know what, this thing is actually worth $500,000. They are right. It was too low. We can adjust that. So we could actually go in and the next market report we sent out to them, we could adjust it up to 500,000. Then as that valuation that we have, that model moves, let's say it moved to 410,000, they would see 510,000 out on their market report later. You can also do it percentage-wise, so it wouldn't move that exact 100,000. It can move by a percentage. So you have an ability to adjust what they see, which is super duper important, right? Because if they reached out to you and said, hey, this doesn't feel right. And you were like, yeah, no, totally. And then the next month you sent the exact same property or price or a slight variation of that still didn't feel right to them. That's probably serving to repel them from you, not draw them to you, especially when you're showing them a value $100,000 under what it's actually worth. So you can control all of that. Now, the other type of individual, Eric, that we set these up on are all of our buyers. Now, here's what most people do, Dylan. Real smart listing agents realize all those buyers you have in your database, in any given market, about 65% of those people own a house already and might be looking to upgrade, which means they'll have a property to list as they go by. Now, most of us, when we have buyers in our database, we are treating them like buyers, right? We're like, hey, here's some new listings, right? We get this lead, this person comes to our open house in Bellingham and it's a $500,000 open house. So we start sending them listings in Bellingham around $500,000. And we should. But what our Brivity clients do on top of that is that buyer's also going to get a market report. Now, that's a generic area market report, and it's going to be set up for the same area they're buying in. Because I don't know where they live yet. Now, if I was a real savage at that open house, if I had the time and there wasn't a million people in there and I got a chance to talk to them, I probably would have tried to get out of them where they live right now. But a lot of times we don't. Those buyer leads we have in our database, a lot of times we don't know where they live. They're non-responsive. They won't answer the phone. They don't reply to the text messages, but they eat up these market reports. Setting a market report up for a buyer. Let's say I had a listing alert going in Bellingham for, 450 to 550. Okay. I'm dripping them properties every day. Hey, here's the new stuff hitting the market. I'm going to have that market report set up once a week. And what it's going to do is it's going to be set up on the same range as their listing alert. So it's going to show them all the properties in Bellingham between 450 and 550,000 and what's happening with them. Some of them are still active. Some of the ones I sent them earlier this week, still active. Some of the ones I sent them earlier this week, they're pending now. Like if they liked those 5 days ago when they saw them, sorry, somebody else is already under contract on that. And then there might have been ones a month ago that they liked that are sold already. And we'll show those on that report as well. So it helps that buyer become more educated about what's happening in that area of the market that they're looking in. But here's the other thing it does, is it will try to dig out of them their address. When we use these generic area reports, what they will do, John Edward, is they will have calls to action on them to try to get them to give us their address of where they live. Hey, would you like one of these reports for your house? Hey, are you curious what your home's value is currently? So we're constantly peppering those area reports and the viewers of those with calls to action to get them to give you their address, Kristen, because you guys got a lot of buyer leads. And in any given market, 60 to 65% of those people own a house already. We've got to have a tool to dig out from our buyer leads where they live. Once they tell us where they live, now they're getting one of these style reports in evaluation style. Again, my mother has, she's got a 7,000 person database. She probably has 6,500 of them on a market report. Every single day, some new person is giving them their address. And once a week, somebody is raising their hand and going, hey, thanks so much for sending us this, Gail. We've really appreciated receiving it over the last 3 years. Do you think you could come out and let us know what we need to do to get our property ready to sell? Like, that's why she calls those her come list me emails. All right. Again, I've been doing this 25 years. This is the tool that digs up and shows you the most people raising their hand on very specific activity, related to what you guys do, which is help them buy and sell. All right. This tool inside of Brivity maybe is like, I don't know, the market reports, our dialer, and this reverse prospecting to me are all amazing because they help shortcut my way to make less phone calls to find appointments. Like your market report viewers, people that view this, 20% of them will go on to list their house in the next 12 months. So it gives you a really targeted audience of people that you have a pretty good idea are going to go on to list their home. We know across all of Brivity, for every team, everywhere, It on average, it takes 34 contacts to set an appointment. Our place teams do it a little bit better. They do it at about 30 contacts to an appointment. But there's something really fascinating that happens when you are targeting specific people in your database with a specific thing. Okay. And here's what happens. Our contacts to appointments goes all the way down to about 17 contacts to an appointment. So what is that thing? Well, who are those people I'm targeting? And what is that thing I'm targeting them with? You're targeting them with a brand new listing. Now, in a perfect world, it'd be your brand new listing, right? And who are the people? They are the people that have looked on your website at properties in the same city and the same price point as the listing that you just brought to the market today. And you can really easily, in like 2 clicks, pull every single one of those people up who's a match and then kind of take action on them. You can call them, you can send them your listing, right? Invite them to your open house on Saturday, or maybe even, invite them to one of those 2 slots you have saved on Friday for somebody to see it and get a little bit of a leg up on the competition. Real smart listing agents that have this in their bag are using this at their listing presentation. So like the place listing presentation that our teams use when we go in and sit down with the seller is going to have a slide in there or a page in there about this concept, because what we're going to tell them is, hey, and some of the people will even do it live. Like I know our team up in Bellingham, they've got a really active website. It's not uncommon that when they take a listing in Bellingham, or they're about to, let's say they were going to take it at 650,000, that we would see 400 matches in their database of people. Now, look, some of them haven't been on the website looking at properties in that price range for 3 years, but some of them were here today. And in a listing appointment, it's not uncommon for Anthony Zapata on the Ben Kinney team in Bellingham to have his computer and to literally pull up a similarly priced property in Bellingham and show them how many matches he has. Like he will literally show them, and he can even show them, hey, look, some of these people were on our website hours ago. Now, what that smart listing agent does when they're sitting there is make a promise to the seller that we're going to reach out to all of these people. We may already have the buyer for your house on our website lurking in our database right now, and we're going to reach out and call them all. We're going to invite all of them to that first open house we're hosting on Saturday. This is a really strong way to go find a buyer for your own listing. And look, over the last couple of years, Luis, as this market's been really challenging. Penny, I don't know how long you've been around or where, but we only sold what, 4.9 million, 5.5, 4 million houses last year. Something just like a really low number. So what a lot of our teams did is we doubled down on this idea of trying to find a buyer for our own listings. 3 years ago, you guys, we took a listing. We didn't even have time to go find a buyer for it. The buyers showed up. Today, as some of our markets slow down a little bit and there's not as many sales happening, man, if we could get on both sides of a few of our sales, that could like dramatically change our year. So we are very aggressive about trying to find that buyer for the listing that we just put on the market, because today they don't show up quite as fast as they did in 21. Reverse prospecting in your database, you guys. This is a really, really valuable tool. And again, for our teams, we're always just trying to find, there's no shortcuts in real estate. Like you still got to make the calls. You still got to talk to these people. You still got to be good with your scripts, right? There's no shortcuts on the work necessarily. The work still has to be done, but you can potentially target things that allow you to have to do less of the work to find the outcome you're after. And I think most of us, Richard Kaplan, are after an outcome of an appointment today out of our database. Reverse prospecting is one of the quickest ways to find one. Again, on average for us, it's about 17 contacts to set an appointment out of reverse prospecting versus somewhere between 30 and 34 contacts kind of broadly across all of Brivity. All right. I can't see you guys. If I could, I guarantee, if there's somebody in this audience right now is on their cell phone. Like you signed up for this webinar, you're like, I'm going to learn something today. I'm going to see, do I need some of these tools? Maybe I'm considering Brivity, but you are on this thing right now. And the reason why is because it's super powerfully distracting. Like, does anybody willing to admit for me right now that you're on your cell phone? A lot of times when I'm in a live audience, I can see you. I can like see your head down and you're on your phone. And so this would be the time where yep, Kristen, she is, right? Guys, I get it. I get pulled away every time I try to do something for work where this thing's involved, and then I pull it up. When I'm done with that thing, I'm like, ooh, look, Nike. I have 5 notifications on my Nike app. I've got one on my Robinhood. I've got one on my news app, Facebook. I don't let Facebook and Instagram send me notifications, but I always check there anyway. Luis is like, yep, thank you, Farida. Farida's paying attention. Guys, this thing's super distracting. In fact, it was built by the smartest people in the world to distract us, right? Like the designers that designed this thing, they know what they're doing. And so we're easily distracted by it. But at the same time, it's the most powerful weapon in your real estate business. Like, if we know that real estate is really a function of our sales funnel, and our sales funnel starts with how many people do we reach out to, how many we talk to, how many do we set an appointment with, how many of those appointments get held, kind of all the way down, right? This is the one tool that allows us to get way more contacts in than anything else. Like, I can't go knock as many doors and make contacts as I can just making phone calls. So if this is the weapon, how do I stay away from the distraction? For us, it is the dialer. So inside of Brivity, you can start and run a dial session. Now it's a single dial session on up to 50 individuals at once. But here's what we've learned on the kind of the data side, the nerdy stuff inside of these CRMs. As we go and we've studied for years, how do you get the business in your CRM? And the cold hard reality, Luis, is you have to call the people in there. And so if this is your weapon of choice to call the people in there, I would contend that you're constantly confronted by interruptions. Make one call, scroll to Facebooks. Make one call, check in on my stem's up, right? Make one call, I got a notification from, like, they're everywhere on my phone. My email binged. Individuals that do one multi-person dial session a month make 10 times as many phone calls into their database as individuals that do not use our dialer. I want you guys to hear that again. If you use our dialer, Luis, you will make 10 times on average. This is across like thousands of people. You will make 10 times as many phone calls into your database as an agent that tries to call their database from their cell phone. We have in our world that place, there are 200 real estate agents that make over $1,000 a month into their business. Now that's a lot. Okay, don't, no question about it. It is a lot. When you break it down, it's not like a massive amount every day. They're making about $50 a day. They just consistently show up and prospect, which is your number one job as an agent, by the way. If nobody's told you that, I'm sorry to be the bearer of the bad news, but like literally every day you're unemployed and you're trying to find your next job. 200 individuals make $1,000. Guess how many of them do it with their phone? It's zero. Zero people. The top hand dialers will make 700 or 800 calls a month. But these are individuals that have been doing this for years, and they just, in many ways, they're weird. They're not normal because they're not easily distracted by this thing like most of us are, like Luis and Kristen admitted to earlier. Okay. Look, top listing agents, they realize I got to talk to enough people to get the appointments that I need to get them to show up, to get them to sign, to get them, like, it's a sales funnel. And this is the one thing that can really kind of maximize the front side of that sales funnel, which is how many people am I talking to? Anybody in our world like that's carrying a large volume of deals because of prospecting is using this tool. I don't know of one individual. There's a few people that have big businesses that have built them over 25 years that are heavily referral based that, don't need this. But most of us, especially if we're building a business or we want to build it faster than it would naturally build by referrals, are going to need something like a dialer. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sometimes you need more leads. Now, a lot of you guys don't. A lot of you guys have a big databases that are being underutilized, undercapitalized. We don't have market reports set up on most of them. We're not using a dialer and calling them effectively. But some of you guys, like, you need leads. So top listing agents like have some tool in their bag when they take a listing to go get more leads because of that listing. If you got one listing right now, we are always trying to turn that into our next listing. We have lead campaigns, and we have a team, by the way, that can manage all the leads for you, and you never have to think about that. And you just go, here's $500. Just give me leads every month. I don't want to think about it. Now, we have some teams that do that, and when they take a new listing, they will go put maybe $100 behind some Facebook ads to promote the open house they're going to have that weekend at that listing. This is still, by the way, one of the most cost-effective kind of lead sources out there. Now, a lot of these people are very high in the funnel, but when you treat your business like a pipeline instead of like, I got to find my next deal, that's okay. I can put people up here high in the funnel. I use the tools. I get them on the market reports and the listing alerts, right? I can get them funneled down so that they start to take action and raise their hand, which allows me to reach out to them and call them at the right time. But it all starts with having them in my database. So our self-serve Facebook tool, you guys can go at Meta, I guess I should say, because it kicks stuff out to Instagram as well. You can go in there. It's all hooked up to your MLS. All the properties are in there. You can very easily, in a couple of clicks, create an ad. We also have AI layered in there so that, Sharon, if you're like, I'm not like a master copywriter. Like, I didn't get into this business to become a marketer. Like, I just like working with people, but I don't really know what this ad should say. Just go into the AI and prompt it. Say, hey, AI, you are a master marketer, right? Given that you're a master marketer, write me some copy for this ad about this listing. And our little AI friend will go in there and write the ad for you. Super easy to use. It's all integrated. So as they sign up on Facebook, we push them over to your website. We log them in automatically so they don't have to re-log in or remember any passwords or anything like that. And then you see all that behavior in the CRM. If they just land and look at that one property on the website, you'll see that. If they land on that website and then they start go searching for 2 or 3 or 5 or 50 more properties, not uncommon, you'll see all that behavior. We'll set a listing alert up for them automatically. You'll come in and piggyback a market report on that person. These are really, really cost affordable leads. Every single day, though, they get just slightly more expensive. Like as we look at this quarter over quarter, the cost of these leads keep going up, and we've never seen lead costs go down, which means, it'll never be cheaper to fill your funnel than it is today. Smart transaction auto plans. A bunch of years ago, like our Genesis and building software here at Brivity, the very first thing we ever built was a transaction management system so that Ben Kinney's sellers in Bellingham, Washington could know what was going on after Ben and team walked away with that signed signature. Right? A lot of times, the seller doesn't really know what we're doing behind the scenes. They saw the sign go out. They get that email the first day letting them know it's live. But 3 weeks later, they're unsure of what we're doing to actively try to sell their house. These transaction auto plans can help alleviate some of that concern or some of that, that black hole that they don't really know what's happening out there. And the idea with these is as things get done, we let the seller know, right? Gives them a portal they can log into. These transaction auto plans have a ton of automation around them. So top listing agents want to make sure that their sellers have a really great experience. They're informed all along the way. There's full transparency. They know everything we're doing. They get all the feedback. They can see our marketing. They know all the websites we were promoting this thing on. When we execute a listing well, we expect them to refer us somebody else. Right? In fact, we have a checkpoint in most of our transaction auto plans for the listing agent after we have a pending contract to reach out to the seller and ask them if they know anybody else that's thinking about selling their house and would love the experience that we just gave them. By the way, if you run a team, one of the things that we do, or that we encourage, as a team owner or rainmaker on a team, these transaction auto plans can do just as much to inform or remind the agents on your own team all the things that your staff is doing to get their contract or their listing to the finish line. And for us, if you run a team and agents are on your team at some split, 50%, 60%, whatever it is, you're constantly having to remind them about the value of that side of the split that they give to the team. And so on our transaction auto plans for teams at place that use Brivity, if we are, telling the seller 10 things, we're telling the agent 5 at least, right? We want to keep reminding that agent, here's all the things we're doing for you. So when we send the automated text to the seller reminding them they have an inspection 3 days, in 3 days on Saturday at 2:00, and here's the inspector's name, and this can all be done automatically. We're going to remind the agent probably the day we set the inspection up for them. Hey, just a reminder, we just logged your inspection, or we just booked your inspection today because all these little things add up. And when they're sitting there thinking about, do I want to stay on this team this year? We want to constantly be reminding them of everything the team does to support their business. All right, I think this is my last one, you guys. And I include this because I mentioned earlier, I've been in real estate for 25 years. And Raja, I've seen every fake, funny, smart-ass name in the book signing up on my website. I don't know if any of you guys, what's the funniest name you've ever seen sign up on your website? Type it in the chat. Every single one of us has had FU. Every single one of us has had, do not call as the name, or now I'm from Seattle. So when we first started in real estate back in 2001, we were one of the first companies on the internet in Seattle with listings that you could look at without having to register. And so we got a lot of leads. And I can remember, Trisha, one day, Bill Gates signed up on our website. And I was, I was 23 years old, I think, at the time. My partner had a lot of exposure to internet marketing before that. He'd been building websites for people here in Seattle for a bunch of years in the late 90s, but I didn't. And so when Bill Gates signed up on our website and the email address was bill@microsoft.com, I was like, holy cow. I mean, I ran into my partner's office, Jonathan, and I'm like, dude, come look at this. And he's like, whoa, what's got you so excited? I'm like, no, come here. And I pull him in because our real estate office was in Bellevue, Washington. We could literally throw a rock to Microsoft's campus back kind of east of us. And then to the west of us, 5 miles was Bill Gates' house. And so I'm like, and we were in my head, he was on our website. Now, Jonathan pulled it up and was like, you idiot. This is going to happen a lot. Would you have gotten this excited if Mickey Mouse signed up on our website or Donald Duck? And I'm like, well, no. This is why I love Quickly, you guys, because I was such an idiot. I thought I had Bill Gates as a lead, but we've never once in 10 years of having Quickly gotten a fake lead from this thing. Because what it is it's the ability to deliver property information on location via text. But in order to get it, they got to text our keyword. And when they do that, we get their phone number. On my mother's team, I keep mentioning my mom. She's an insane real estate agent. My mom did 79 transactions her first year in real estate using the Brivity platform, running the models and systems. But she loves her Quickly leads. And here's the main reason she loves her Quickly leads is because in her world, about 1 out of every 4 Quickly leads that they get. Now think about we have a sign out in front of our listing, and this is somebody that's driving by the sign, and instead of grabbing a flyer from us, they text in, Gail, her is south, BK, or they text south to 59559, and then based on the GPS location of where they're standing right then, we send them information about the property they're near. Here's why Gail loves these. 1 out of every 4 of her Quickly leads end up being somebody that lives nearby that's just curious about what's going on with that listing. She gets seller prospects out of this, right? If somebody in the neighborhood you have your home listed in is thinking about selling right now, they're essentially looking at you. This is like a showcase. You're auditioning for them right now. And so some of those people walk by. A lot of times it's just to see what it's listed for. Oh, what did the Johnsons have their house listed? What is it listed for while I'm out walking my dog that night? but they're very aggressive with their quick leads because it's always a real person on the other end. And it's generally somebody that's either interested in buying that house or they live nearby and they're curious about what that agent is doing to get it sold and what they have it priced at. She's had so many, new listings come out of an existing listing because somebody was out walking their dog in the neighborhood and was like, oh, I wonder what's going on here. Quickly. If you've ever had a fake lead, at least at your property, this will end that. By the way, lots of other ways you can deploy quickly in your business. If you have any kind of an event strategy where maybe you do a farmer's market or once a year you go to the bridal show or home shows or you do the pumpkin patch or whatever it is. If you do any kind of an event strategy, there's an instant keyword concept on Quickly where we can market a keyword. And if somebody texts that, we get their phone number and then we can send them a reply. It's really, really strong for events. All right, Mark Allison. I don't know what that comment is because I lost track of when you made it. But anytime I read those words, I giggle because I have young children. All right. That's it, you guys. Those are I think there was 8 in there. Those are our 8 tools every top listing agent needs to be deploying in their business. These are all available inside of the Brivity platform. By the way, at the bottom of every slide, you could text the word platform to 59559. That's a little show off, by the way, or showcase of the Quickly technology. And so when you do that, we'll send you back a little link where you can go book a time to talk to one of our sales guys. There's a whole bunch of functionality I didn't even talk about today inside of Brivity. But Robin, I wanted to bring you guys 6 top tools every listing agent is currently deploying. And if you guys want to be one of those, jump on board, text platform to 59559. Kristen, have an amazing afternoon. Luis, you get back to scrolling on your phone, but do yourself a favor, go call somebody in your database. I will see you guys next time. My name is Bob Stewart. Bye-bye, everybody.